All right. Ooh, hey, we are live. Happy Thursday. I am so excited to be answering a community Q&A question, right? Like, it was such a juicy question. I was like, I have to answer this. This is so good because everybody's going to get value and benefit from this. And I've got a cat. Here we go. So yeah, let me just get this pulled up here. Make sure I can see all the comments. And we will get rocking and rolling. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Michelle. So good to see you. So first of all, if you're watching live on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, turn on the notifications so you don't miss anything moving forward. And, again, for those of you who are in my amazing Facebook community, the Influential CEO, hop over to YouTube and like and subscribe to my channel there because I have the video vodcast version of my podcast there too. So that's always a great opportunity to listen to that and see everyone sharing their genius. So Lisa, so good to see you. Hello, hello. So yes, Lisa was the amazing community member who shared a fantastic question. And so I always encourage you, whether you're part of my community on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, it doesn't matter. I'm on all the platforms. If you're part of the community and you share a really, really, really amazing question, you might have an opportunity to be featured on the community Q&A where I answer your question. Because of course, if you're asking the question, there's always going to be more people who have that same question. So whether you're joining live or watching the replay, drop in the comments where you're joining us from. I know you are traveling, Elisa, so I'd love to know where you're at right now. Especially since I'm in Florida, you're in Florida. So awesome. And so before I get into the question and what we'll be talking about today, I'm Stacey Raske, best-selling author, speaker, podcast host, Iraq War veteran, badass biker chick, leadership mentor, and soulful success coach, helping revolutionary founders and CEOs shatter the invisible ceiling to effortlessly elevate their influence, leadership, and legacy of impact while enjoying the ride. And there's a cat. There we go. Right in front of me. I'm like, how is she not on the camera? That is hilarious. Patrick, New Jersey. So good to see you. So good to see you. I love it. All right, let me get this question pulled up. So when you are reviewing boundaries and elevating those boundaries that are not fulfilling you, how do you recognize what is a true boundary needed and what is the defense of the inner child? So the first thing I want to explain is boundaries are protection, period. Boundaries are the protection that we need in order to create internal safety for our inner child. I mean, for every aspect of ourselves, we need internal safety. And so it's that energetic layer of protection that becomes the gatekeeper of what we will and will not allow in our bubble. That's it. So that's our safety mechanism. And the reason boundaries are so vital for that is because that protection needs to be in place in order for us to begin dismantling the internal walls that we created as protection in the past. So the unhealthy defense of our inner child are things like our ego, which again, ego gets a bad rap, not entirely a bad thing. It serves a purpose, keeps us safe. We've got ego, we've got those walls, we've got the masks that we wear, we've got all the different things that we do to reinforce that protection, that keep us safe mechanism that is not the most optimal for our success. So we've got to have those energetic boundaries in place, that layer of protection in place in order to create that safety so we can begin taking off the mask we wear with ourselves, dismantling those walls. So it is protection, it's safety, but it's not in terms of a negative type of defense mechanism. It's just what I will and will not allow in my bubble. And I literally do the hands, right? The hands with the bubble, like that's my bubble over me. Like it's my bubble. You know, you don't get the right to be in my bubble if you're an asshole, right? Now, granted, I mean, we can all be an asshole, but you know what I mean. If you're not aligned with me, if you're toxic, you're negative, we're not vibing, like I'm not going to keep you in my bubble, right? You've got, people have to earn the right to be in my bubble. All right, Lisa, I'm heading up to Fort Lauderdale, then Miami, then up the West Coast. Nice. So fun. Okay, so most people end up overcomplicating boundaries in general. Like we think we need boundaries for every single situation and they're all different. And it's actually not the case. One clear set of boundaries is all you need for every relationship in your life, because all of the relationships in your life, whether it's with people, whether it's with resources like time or money, whether it's your relationship with your body, all of those relationships are a reflection of the one and only relationship that ultimately matters, which is the relationship with you. So it's one set of boundaries across the board. But when we're really clear on what those boundaries are, it pretty much applies to everything. So whenever I have my clients creating their boundaries, and that's something we do pretty much right out of the gates, we set up their new routine, get that going. After that set, usually the next week, we're like, all right, let's dig into some boundaries, right? Like that's pretty much the foundation that everybody gets. And what they're amazed with is like, we can look externally at the relationships we have with others, right? That's a good primer that's telling us what our relationship is with ourselves. You know, if I'm having challenges, you know, I used to always use the example like, wow, isn't it interesting how, you know, I can be so close with my husband and yet sometimes he can be really kind of disrespectful. And then looking back, I'm like, man, I kind of allowed that to happen. And then, oh, okay, this is a reflection of my relationship with myself. I disrespect my time all the time. I disrespect my body, right? Not taking breaks or saying yes to other people's things, right? Like there's a lot. I disrespect myself by the way that I talk to myself in my head. Hello, inner critic. Give me some hearts or drop in the comment if you're like, yeah, disrespect. If you know you have those moments, you disrespect your time, your energy, your wisdom, your body, you know, your enoughness, right? Our inner critic is so great at disrespecting our enoughness. So if you're like, yep, been there, done that. So, you know, that every one of those relationships, every one of those challenges is always going to be that mirror reflection of what's going on internally. So when creating your boundaries, yes, it's a good primer to sort of look at those external relationships and think about what those, where you're like, I don't like these one-sided relationships. I don't like, I don't like dishonesty. I don't like negative energy or toxic energy, things like that. Definitely no disrespect, but, you can do it based on those external relationships to kind of create your list, but then look at, are you doing these things, needing these boundaries in your relationship with yourself? Because that's the most important boundaries to focus on. So the external is just where you kind of observe it. Internally is actually where you need it, because ultimately it's just like everyone says, like, I don't even know how old the saying is, but you can't expect others to respect you if you don't respect yourself. It is absolute 100% truth that we have to honor and respect our own boundaries before others will do that as well. It's as simple as that. Now, granted, most of the time we see the results of the boundaries work that we're doing in those external relationships first, because, it's always a challenge when it's self-accountability, because boundaries are how you self-parent your inner child, right? Safety and protection. That's what we're doing. Boundaries are beautiful masculine energy too, to give us the safety and structure and stability that we need to be in flow, to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to be trusting, to release the shit that doesn't serve us and be open to receive the love, money, clients, connections, collaborations, health, vitality, joy, fun, whatever it is we desire, but that we're open to receive. So important. So that's really the key when you're reviewing your boundaries, starting with, those external relationships as kind of an indicator, then looking at your relationship with yourself. So let me look at this really. Patrick, yeah, this is so juicy. You are so welcome. So welcome. Okay, let's see here. Couple final things. So I did the clarify and simplify your boundaries. Definitely explained what you're actually protecting. Okay, so the most powerful boundary, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything today, but I should have just trusted myself because I was on it. So there you go. There you go. So the most important boundary that you can have, and again, we have this in a framework for our bubble, what we will and will not allow. And the language needs to be clear, simple, and strong. So the fewer the words, the better. The fewer the words, the better. It's really, really clear, really, really simple. The one boundary everyone needs, this is like just a matter of like basic human rights, in a sense, just existing, is no disrespect. Literally, that one boundary is so clear and so powerful and applies to everyone and everything. No disrespect as a clear and solid boundary literally covers about 80% of boundary issues. Seriously. We can get into the other stuff all day long, right? Like that's just fine tuning, but literally no disrespect is about 80, possibly even 85% of boundary issues. If you really think about a situation, no matter what it is, you can really boil it down to the root before you ever get to the other stuff, right? So if it is just someone being disrespectful of you, right? So if somebody's trying to gaslight you, if somebody's trying to manipulate you, if someone's really, really shitty, if someone is judgy, if someone is whatever, those are all the symptoms. If you kind of boil it down, it's like, oh yeah, they're just straight up disrespectful. They're not respecting me as a person, as an adult, if it's family, parents, right? They're not respecting my space, my time, my energy, my wisdom. They're not respecting my vision, whatever. Like no disrespect, huge. It's like the clearest, most powerful, simplest boundary you can ever have. So that is the one boundary to your bubble. And like I said, it is in that format. Super strong, super clear, super simple. If you don't allow no disrespect in your bubble, guess what? If you feel someone disrespecting you, all of a sudden you have this boundary awareness where you're like, oh, this feels crappy. So you say, hey, not cool, or you leave the situation or change the subject, whatever. Like it shifts who you are being enough that you respond differently instead of reacting, right? Because it can be a trigger that somebody's like disrespectful, you don't feel considered. That was a big trigger for me. I hated not being considered. Really, it was just, I was feeling disrespected. There was some definite ego, some narcissist stuff there too, but that's another live. However, the trigger was, I was feeling not included. I was feeling like my input or my presence wasn't being included or respected. So it really was just a no disrespect trigger. But instead of being triggered like I used to, once I had that clarity of that no disrespect, all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, cool. Then I handled it so differently. It completely shifted how I showed up and approached these situations and how I handled it. So instead of, like I said, reacting, which is bringing the past junk into the present, and then we act all batshit crazy. But instead it was saying, oh, no, I'm responding to this. And like, yeah, this is not cool. And then it's a constructive way to handle it, and it shifts. And most importantly, it shifted my self-respect. I started respecting my time more, which is still always a work in progress. And I'm still working on my relationship with that. Some of it is that story that still says, hard work equals success, ease, and kind of no, it's okay to have ease and fun and play. Some of it is disrespect or no disrespect of my body. Like I eat significantly better, but I still have my days where I'm like, I really don't want to go to the gym, right? It's just real life. But the big one where no disrespect has almost entirely taken over is how I talk to myself. That's the most important way that I've shifted. Honoring that boundary is the imposter syndrome's not coming up anymore. The self-doubt isn't there. It's just cool, confident, releasing any external conditions because that self-love, and that's really what respect is self-love is there. So, all right, we broke down some really, really good, juicy things today in answering that question. So I hope that answered your question, Lisa. So please share in the comments if anything comes up for you. And as I said, if you ever want to be featured on Community Q&A, share a juicy, juicy question. And I am happy to share insights and answer that question for you. So yeah, have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're watching the live or catch the replay. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're here in the group, invite your friends. I love this is a more the merrier situation when it's high vibe, right? You're here, you're awesome, you're amazing in this community, the influential CEO. Invite your friends, birds of a feather flock together. If you're a visionary badass, I'm sure you know some others. So invite them in, come hang out. All right. Enjoy your day. I'm sure I will see you again very soon. And remember, as always, you are enough. If you'd like to learn more about connecting and getting an invitation to work with me, hit me up in Messenger and let's have a chat. We'll talk about your vision and what those next best steps are for you. All right. Take care. Have a great day. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.